Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we continue our focus on the relationship between Lion L. Johnson and Sanguinius, with the difficulties that rose to the Lion's banishment from the Imperium. A spoiler warning to begin, as today we will be referencing events from the Horus Heresy novels, Pharos, and Angels of Caliban. As always, I really recommend you read the stories for yourself first, without spoilers, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Okay, so on Monday, we began our discussion on the relationship between Sanguinius and Lion L. Johnson, by taking a look at their reunion within the Heresy, which transpired with Sanguinius' arrival to Macragge and Ultramar. And if you missed it, I recommend giving that a quick listen before continuing on with this one. But to sum it all up, we saw how the Angel Sanguinius appeared to have a definite level of respect for the Lion's opinion, and that he felt comfortable enough with L. Johnson to embrace him on their meeting. Which perhaps doesn't sound like much for brothers to hug each other, but when you know the Lion, it is a big deal. Normally a very stoic and separate character to his brothers. So it all implied a definite fond relationship between the two, at least to some extent. Which again, when it comes to L. Johnson, is no small thing. And for Lion L. Johnson to be happy placing Sanguinius above him as the Emperor of Imperium Secundus, well, that speaks more than anything else ever could in regards to L. Johnson's opinion regarding the Angel. However, their brotherly fraternity was absolutely not smooth sailing, as ever is the way with the Primarchs, and in particular L. Johnson, as he simply couldn't escape his own nature, his secrecy. Named as Lord Protector, it was L. Johnson's responsibility to defend the Imperium Secundus of Ultramar, and thus he left to ensure Ultramar was safe, cleansing it of whatever remnants of enemy remained within. But in truth, he was still obsessed with the hunt for Conrad, and so, quite simply, the Lion virtually disappeared to his kin, leaving Guilliman and Sanguinius with no idea where he truly was. And this issue would become compounded when the Night Lords attacked the Pharos beacon, and the tensions became all too clear to see in a private conversation between Guilliman and Sanguinius within the novel Pharos. "Oh, I have my moments," said Guilliman. He resumed his pacing, slower now, his emotions harnessed again. "With Sofa attacked, everything we have striven to build here is under threat. Without the Pharos, Ultramar will slip back into disorganisation. We will not be able to effectively coordinate our forces, nor hold the territory we have. Taking the war to Horus will be out of the question. So I ask you, where is he? Where is the Lion? The Lord Protector is not performing his role, it appears. You mean to tell me, Sanguinius, that he mentioned nothing of his purpose to you? I presume he told you nothing either, else you would not be asking." Sanguinius took up a goblet and flask of wine from the table, and poured his brother a drink. "Here, I think you need this." Guilliman took the drink and drained it in one draught. "He told me that he was to patrol the outer marches," they said together. Typically obtuse. But where is he? If he is really patrolling the outer marches, he should have caught this infiltration of Ultramar, said Guilliman. I question how much farther he has been able to travel without our knowledge. So here it's very clear, L. Johnson's nature, that isolated, secretive part of himself, is causing problems for him. However, despite Guilliman's clear anger at the Lion, and Sanguinius's visible disappointment, the Angel still absolutely refuses to heed Guilliman's request of punishing him. But I cannot see the truth of it. I chase my own tail endlessly. The Lion has some business in this too. Blast him and his closed mouth. We should censure him when he returns. You and I. He has failed his Emperor. Punish him. Absolutely not. Sanguinius's mouth set resolutely. I will not rebuke him, Rabute. I will not shame him. I will not make it appear that I value your words over his. We are in this together. I will not take on a mantle as weighty as Horus's. If he is to be taken to task, we shall do it as brothers, not as overlord and servant. I refuse. Now, yes, a great deal of Sanguinius's reasoning here is just as he says, not wanting to be another Horus Lupercal, another War Master. However, I can't help but feel the Angel is far better at accepting his brothers for what they are than anyone else. That he knows this behaviour is a part of his brother's nature, and that maybe he simply can't change that. Because of course Sanguinius and the Blood Angels harbour their own secrets within, their own nature. You have to think that plays into Sanguinius's line of thinking, his rationale. As much as he dislikes and disagrees with L. Johnson's actions here, he knows himself. None of the Primarchs are perfect. And so you can feel the conflict within the Angel a bit here. However, the problem is, unfortunately, the situation would only get worse. Conrad Kurz would infiltrate the fortress of Hera, confronting Sanguinius himself, leading to Sanguinius demanding the return of both his brothers to Macragge. And despite L. Johnson's secrecy, there's a real instinctive, emotional reaction he displays upon his return, when he found out that Kurz had confronted the Angel. The Lion was immobile, rendered as a statue for several moments as he absorbed this information. A flicker of the eyelids betrayed an internal dialogue that Guilliman could only guess at. When he spoke, the Lion's voice was flat, devoid of feeling, stunned. Guilliman was forced to admit. Never left Macragge. Another twitch, the slightest shake of the head, frozen like a cogitor encountering a terrible paradox in its program code. A widening of the eyes as reality asserted itself, implications springing into life like water streaming through the cracks in a weakened dam. Our brother Emperor, the Lion became animated, almost grabbing Guilliman by the shoulder. Has anything happened to Sanguinius? He lives, Guilliman assured him. He is unharmed. Now yes, the shock at first is his realisation he was played for a fool. However, that panic, almost grabbing Guilliman in his surprise, that is a clear action of emotion. The revelation of how much he cares about Sanguinius's safety. And so you do get echoes and see traces of his future reaction to Dante, some 10,000 years later, seeing a Marine wearing his brother's face. A brother he quite clearly cared a lot about, even if thanks to his own nature, he could never admit it or show it particularly well. But after Sanguinius tasked L. Johnson directly with tracking down Kurz and eliminating him for good, explicitly stating no orbital bombardments. It would actually be Conrad who would reveal the Lion's treachery, how he did in fact inflict orbital bombardment upon a world of Ultramar, concealing it all as a planetary assault instead. And this would lead to the biggest fraction in El'Jonson and Sanguinius's brotherhood. "You will say no more," said Sanguinius, a warning finger directed at Kurz. The Blood Angel regarded the Lion for a few seconds, seeming to sag inside his armour, his wings furled. "The sword cannot free itself from the hand that wields it. We cannot allow our blades to rule us. They are uncaring masters." Sanguinius turned away, laying a hand upon the arm of his throne, as though weary. The movement a damning judgment without need for words. "Give me your blade, brother." Guilliman spoke quietly, but his words seemed thunder loud in the quiet of the amphitheatre. He approached the Lion with hand outstretched. Another look to Sanguinius confirmed that the Primarch of the Dark Angels was alone in this. Kurz was still within reach. One strike would be all it took to sever his head properly. Perhaps sensing the Lion's thoughts, Guilliman moved, his attention focused on the Night Haunter. The Lion did not react until the Lion's sword was already in the fist of the other Primarch. He turned, thinking to take back his weapon, but was frozen by the look of cold rage in Guilliman's eyes. The Primarch of the Ultramarines took the Lion's blade in both hands and brought it down sharply across his knee. The Lion watched the blade split along the fuller, breaking into two shards that glittered in artificial sunlight as they toppled from Guilliman's spreading fingers. They fell into the white sand at the Lion's feet. "Your sword for your oath," Guilliman growled, teeth gritted. "Such has become your honour, Knight of Caliban." Guilliman stepped past the Lion and took hold of Kurz. The Night Haunter allowed himself to be led away, smiling back over his shoulder at the dishonoured commander of the Dark Angels. Slowly, the Lion crouched and reached out a hand to touch the two pieces of the broken sword. He picked them up, sadness turning into anger. "Weakness," he bellowed, thrusting the shards towards Guilliman's back. "Self-righteousness never conquered the galaxy, brother, and it will not save you from Horus. Be gone," he heard Sanguinius say, not turning around. Immediately, the Lion regretted his words, remembering the vision that had beset his lord of late. He took a step but was stopped by the Emperor's next words. "Leave, brother. The triumvirate has ended. You are not welcome in Imperium Secundus." So Sanguinius banished El'Jonson and his legion from what they believed at the time, quite possibly the only version and trace of the Imperium left standing. And that is a big, big deal. For all they knew, the throne world was gone. Chaos had reigned. Only Ultramar still stood. And yet such was El'Jonson's crime, committing orbital bombardment within Ultramar, betraying his word to Sanguinius himself. The Angel banished him. And of course the Lion would outwardly react in anger. But you know within, it has to hurt him deeply. That this one brother, who he instinctively reacted aloud fearing when he'd been hurt, would then in turn banish him. You have to wonder if El'Jonson's more angry at that action, or privately his own behaviour, bringing it upon himself. He's as stubborn as any Primarch, but it had to hurt him. And there's no debate about it. This moment was absolutely a major point in their sibling history. Their friendship. And for Sanguinius, you have to feel his brother has left him no choice. He'd been reluctant to ever cast judgment on L. Johnson's behaviour before, as we have discussed. Yet here, he simply had no choice. L. Johnson had gone too far, to a place where, as Emperor, Sanguinius couldn't simply leave L. Johnson to his own nature anymore. You can absolutely tell he doesn't want to do it, taking no enjoyment in the moment, but he simply was left with no choice. And so, regardless of future events, this moment, for both brothers, is very defining. But as we know, this would not be the end for either Primarch, and we'll continue on with the end of their relationship, their legacy, next time. But as always everyone, what do you think? Why do you feel the Angel is seemingly more accepting of his other brother's natures? Is it because his own dark secret within, or something else? And why do you think the Lion simply can't help himself in regards to his actions, in his pursuit of Conrad, that he defied his promise to his brothers, and attempted to conceal it? What is his obsession with the hunt? Is it his passed on Caliban, or how the Emperor made him? As always everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too? But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.